my name is Inge, coming to you from Ingesknittinglab in Denmark. I just love trying out new things and experimenting with stitches and patterns within both knitting and crochet, hence the name lab. And I've gained so much inspiration and knowledge from watching videos out there, and I hope by mine to give something back to the community. Today I've brought 4 finished objects for you to see. A TULC cardigan made in Nutiden Unspun Yarn, a Flowerbud Tee, a design of mine, and a small sweater for a baby, and a winter hat leftover project from winter. I will also share the progress on my needles, and I have bought some new yarn and have some new ideas for cast-ons to show you. I have not finalized testing the properties of summer yarns, so yeah, let's see. And then I have added 2 new sections to my video, one being knitting math hack and the other being knitting fun facts. And for the section of knitting math hack, I will talk about iCords. Have you ever tried iCords curling up on you, not giving you the final result that you wanted on your garment? I have, and it's a bummer. So today I will share you how I fix the problem. And for the section of knitting fun facts, we will cover knitting speed. Did you know that knitting speed is a competition discipline? It is, and the speed is insane, I tell you, and it's been recorded in the Guinness Book of World Records. But more about that later. Let's get started. Let's start talking about my own design, the Flowerbud Tee. I showed you the design in my last video. I was very inspired by the blooming in the garden and the flower buds folding out, being bigger and bigger leaves. So I had the internal vision of a flower bud being the bubble here and a small leaf, and then the leaves growing and glowing and being a bigger flower. And I think now, seeing the final result, that I actually succeeded with the internal vision. But that being said, when I started, I didn't know how to visualize my vision with the knitting stitches. I have done some lace before and have ideas on both different lace stitches and also how to draft the stitches in a pattern. But on the way here, I did something I haven't done before. Whether or not it's a new stitch, I don't know, but I don't know how to draft it. So actually this time I have this small journal, and I also have a journal on an online program. But yeah, you can see the page is practically empty. There's a drawing for my grandson and just a note on which type of yarn it is and my gauge. So let's start there, and I hope I will soon be able to finalize my journaling. But yeah, I use this Cecilia yarn from Svarta Fåret, meaning black sheep. This is a Swedish brand consisting of 53% cotton, 33% viscose, and 14% linen. And this is my 3rd garment in this base and brand. And this time around, I wanted it to be a denser product. Beforehand, I had made one in needle size 6 millimeter, which is a US 10, and I've made it in a 5 millimeter needle. I guess it's a US 8. And so this time I wanted a needle size 4 millimeter, which is a US size 6, I guess. And I just have to look on the UK measurements. These are, the 4 millimeter is a 8, and 5 millimeter is a 6, and the 6 millimeter is a 4, a size 4 in UK. Okay. It's hard to intercorrelate between the different gauges. We are metrics persons, so metrics, using metrics here in Denmark. Okay. Where was I? Yeah, I used the size 4, and this time around I didn't want it to be that wide, so I only have an ease of 2 inches, being 5 centimeters, whereas the other ones were much bigger. And when I made a double cast on here because I didn't know how to do the neckline and here and the bottom hem, so that's why I did. And then when I had done the body part, I was sure that I would do the iCords here, so I just picked up the provisional cast-ons and made the neckline. I have made a small short rows in the neck, and I also made some waist shaping in order for this garment to be more fitted than the other ones. So actually this garment didn't grow during washing or during wear. I guess it's because this is a tighter garment with a size 4 needle, whereas this one in size 5mm needles, it grows a bit during washing and wear and returns to shape. No, I'm babbling. It grows a bit by wear and returns a bit during washing, but not to its original knitted shape. And this one was in needle size 6. This was the ranunculus, and you can see it's much more loose. It's not see-through, but... And I have actually bought the yarn to make one t-shirt, and out of this color I could make 2 actually for my size. I'm a size 116 centimeter bust. Yeah. But enough about this one. I will take up the challenge and get the pattern finalized. I have started a bit. These are some of the stitches, but I lost track of it, and it kind of, as I said in the last video, killed my creativity. So I've tried afterwards, but maybe I need to redo this one in another yarn color, and so that I can draw down the pattern, and then this is how it is. And now for the knitting math hack session. I brought you this test piece. It's a test short-sleeved sweater with a lot of different techniques I've tested out, but they can be used later. Now we focus on the iCord. I wanted an iCord edge on the sleeves, the bottom part, and the neckband. And I wanted it to look nice and even, not reducing the sleeve to a ball sleeve, or being too wide. And look what happened. I will exaggerate here in order for you to see. It curled up on me. Bummer. And I looked at it and I thought, well, what did I do wrong? Because I just took up every stitch here to make the iCord round. Then I came to think of when you do the swatching. You typically start swatching by doing a garter stitch, some garter stitches here, in order for the swatch not to curl up on you. And this is due to the fact that when you look at a knitted piece from the front side and the back side, the front side with the knit stitches are firmer than the back side with the purl stitches. The purl stitches has more volume, or it's demanding its space because it's wider. A stitch is wider on the back purl side than on the front knit side. And this is why we need some kind of reduction. in order for this not to curl up, at least in this yarn. So that's when I thought, well, it has to be important, the row gauge and the stitch gauge on the pattern, because you in an iCord, when you do like this, the stitches count, and then you add the iCord going in this direction and the row gauge counts. So now to the math hack part of it. I will try to visualize by this board and try not to get too much of a light reflection. I've drawn it up front in order to be easier for me to explain. So starting with the gauge swatch here. For this yarn, the Svarte Ford, I had 21 stitches and 27 rows, which means that the knit stitch is wider than it is long. So if you had a stitch count of 20 times 20 stitches times 20 rows, it would be a square. You would have equally many rows and stitches, but this is not. So okay. And as I said before, when you have the garment and you do the knit stitches, then the width of the garment down at the hem is it's important, the stitch gauge here. And when you make the iCord and you work in the other direction, it's the row gauge. So here comes the math part of it. I took the row gauge and the stitch gauge and made a fraction. And then I reduced the fraction. So I have 21, you can divide by 3, and you have 7, you can divide by 3, and then it gives you 7/9. What does that mean? It means that for every 9 stitches down here before the iCord, you have to reduce the stitch count to 7. So I tried to draw it in another way. So 1, 2, 3, 4 to 9. So when the last round before the iCord, I knit 1, 2, 3 and then skip 1. That means I knit 2 together. 1, 2, 3, knit 2 together. 1, 2, 3, 4, knit 2 together, and so on, which gives me the same stitch count on the stitches compared to the rows. So now I have the knit stitches going in the horizontal direction. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Is it correct? I don't know, but the math here is okay, but could you explain the problem by this? I don't think it's the full truth, because this part of the knit stitch and the purl stitch being, the purl stitch is demanding its space being wider than the knit side on the front side. I think it has more to say in this equation, and you could try measuring your piece before the iCord and see how wide is it on the back side compared to the front side. I tried to do that, and I could see millimeters of a difference, and then you could see how the reduction should be. But I think at least now this worked for me, and I will try it more times. So the important part was, you can see I didn't want the sleeve to get less wide. I wanted it the width as the knit stitches, and also here in the bottom part. And I think I succeeded. So in upcoming garments, I will try to do the same math. I will reduce the fraction of the gauge swatch stitches and rows and see how it works for me the next time. Try it out for yourselves, or please leave a comment if you have another way to figure out the problem and maybe the math behind it. I would so much enjoy to see it. Thank you. Let's move on to the TULC cardigan. TULC stands for the Ultimate Lacy Cardigan. meaning an easy piece to knit. It was not so much laziness for me, but I will tell you about all the challenges. So where to start? I think I will start with the yarn, because this was new to me with this Unspun Yarn and Nutiden yarn. So I joined the hype because I'd seen so many YouTubers praise Unspun yarns, giving a very squishy and soft and light garments. And being a relatively big-sized breasty woman, I need light garments. So I thought, well, this might be something for me. So yeah, and then I heard that in order for you to even get hold of the yarn, you need to be very quickly when they put out their monthly or quarterly sales. So I guess it was in February, there was this sale, and it started at 3 a.m. in the morning here in my time in Denmark. So I had set the clock, the alarm, to wake me up, and then I've set my eyes on this base lengthen, and I put in the order, and it came through. And it was good that I woke up this early to do it, because only a couple of hours later it was all gone, sold out totally. But I like this lengthen because there is very much color play in it. It's base, there are red tones, green tones, rusty tones, brown tones, and I guess that's also what makes it wonderful. But let me share some of all my learnings with the yarn. I got this cake, not much left here. I bought 500 grams because I thought this might do for a sweater or a cardigan for me, and then I could find a pattern later on. I actually don't know why I didn't do it the other way around, because I specifically chose this design by Stella because she has designed it for Nutiden yarns. And then when I looked at the pattern, it called for 700 grams. So I thought, well, do I have enough yarn? And then I started doing a swatch here only with one strand of the Nutiden, and I couldn't get gauge at all with one strand. I tried with 2 strands and different kinds of helping strand, but getting gauge was very hard for me. So back to the yarn. I had also heard that you should ball it up with the 2 strands together in order for you to make it easier to knit with, not that it doesn't come that easily apart. And I don't know what I was thinking actually, because I wanted to pair it with the kid silk in order to make it actually both brighter but also stronger with the mohair and the silk part of it. And then I balled it up, the 3 strands together. Bad idea. Don't do that, because you have this strand, when you knit with it, the unspun will grow a bit on you, but this doesn't. And then you have, it seems more lengthy, the unspun, than this one. It doesn't work. So I had to reball it all and make it with this one and this one aside. You would probably say I could have told you so, but yes, this was the first time for me. Then gauging. I'll just look at my notes, because the Nutiden held double. It calls for 19 stitches and 25 rows with a needle size 4 millimeter. And this is a 6 in US. So that's where I started. And I had 16 stitches in 4 millimeters, which wouldn't do. And then I figured out if I should go down needle sizes to obtain 19 stitches. I mean, it was less than 2, so it was not workable for me. And I don't know why, because usually when there are gauge recommendations on either the yarn or in the pattern, I'm practically always spot on, but this time not, I would say, with this new unspun yarn for me. So I ended up saying, okay, I throw in the towel. This looks like would be a bulky yarn for me. I don't know if it's bulky in the bulky term, but I will try a size 6mm needle, a size 10 in US, and then see where it leads me. And I did, and I'm looking in my notes now. So with a size 6mm needle, I got 14 stitches and 20 rows. So you can see quite different from the 19 times 25 rows. So I had to recalculate the pattern totally, I would say. And this leads to many of the rip outs I had to do, actually close to 6, I would say. I started out doing the neckband here. And the first error was that according to the pattern, I used the calculation factor from my gauge to the pattern gauge, but it was simply too narrow on my neck. So this was the first rip out. Then I looked at it and I thought, well, it looks too big. I went down a needle size with 6mm to 5mm, but they were too wide and big. So I actually ripped out again and redid with larger number of stitches and going down to a 4.5mm needle. Okay, then ready to move on to the short rows. I looked at it, and I usually don't struggle with short rows, but this time you could clearly see me working on purling on the wrong side. So I had heard before that when you struggle with that one, you have to go down a needle size on when working the pearls. So that's what I did. And I think it worked out beautifully. It worked out well. And so that was content. Then I reached to the very nice detail of the pattern that I like so much. It's a shoulder. It's a saddle shoulder construction, and with a nice swing with a, do you call it a set-in sleeve? And you can see the very nice shaping here to allow for the breast, and yeah, you can design it for your body size when you have this fitted design. But this was not at all easy for me. You can see the pictures I put in beside me, because when recalculating this, it did like crazy up here, you can see on the picture. So I think I had to rip it out 2 times in order for me to get the right number of rows and intakes and increases to make the nice shaping which was intended for the pattern. But I succeeded at last. But when I ripped out, I mean, I didn't rip out at start. I just started a new ball because I didn't dare rip out. I didn't know if this Nutiden unspun yarn would totally break for me or what would happen. So each time I started a new ball, I was like this, oh, do I have enough yarn to finish the project? Because as it calls for 700 grams and I only had 500 grams, and now using balls like this for all my redos, I was a bit scared. But I just kept on. And I guess when I came to the part where I didn't have any more new balls, I had to rip out the other ones, and I did. And actually, maybe not so surprising, it gets stronger when you have kind of rubbed the yarn and it hooks together, so it was not a problem undoing or unraveling the yarn. And I just used it again, and I don't think you can tell where I have the total new ones and where I used, there's a small, I have to weave in some ends still, but yeah. So yeah, these were some of the challenges. I'm just looking at my notes if I have forgotten something. No, I don't think so. But modifications besides recalculating the whole pattern, I looked at the neckband and I thought, well, it seemed like the buttons were not centered, so I added another half twisted rib here to make the button centered, and I made 11 buttons and buttonholes down my project. Yeah, and I also added in, I don't think it's part of the pattern, some breast darts, because when it's a shaped form and you have quite a breast, then yeah, you miss some fabric. So I added in breast darts, and I also added in waist shaping. So that's what I did. The aftermath and of this, doing this project, was a bit hard, because working with this unspun yarn and me not being able to get the tension, or I don't know if I was afraid of breaking the yarn or whatever happened, or my osteoarthritis teased me there. I had to have 1 week of vacation after this project, because my hands hurt so much, and I also started to get a bit of a pain here. I have never tried that before, even though I can knit many hours a day, I would say, and I do. But even though I like it very much, and I don't feel like it scratches to my skin. Maybe I'm resistant to the scratchy yarn or what, but I think it's very soft, and I would love to make another one, but I think the experience with my fingers keeps me from more projects with unspun yarn, so I have to settle with other yarn types. But I can highly recommend the pattern. It's very well written and very easy to read, and so I will read you just in a gauge that the pattern calls for, so I can try to just go the ultimate lazy cardigan way with this one. Moving on to the third finished items, it's this festival sweater by Petite knit. I've made this for a baby of 2 to 4 months, and I don't think there's so much to say about it. I had the same gauge as the pattern. I just followed the recipe or the pattern, and it worked out like this. So now I just need to weave in the ends and block it and make a nice gift bag for the baby, which is due in July. So there you go. Yeah. The last finished piece is this accessory, the Oslo hat by Petite knit. I just followed the pattern and the gauge, and everything was fine. And I've made this hat for my husband. It's with a 3 double brim. Nice. So I guess there is not so much to talk about the pattern. It's just forward going and, yeah, as usual, easy to read and so on. So maybe there's more to talk about the yarn, because with this project I wanted to test this yarn, new yarn by Holst, and it's called Haya. It is 70% baby alpaca, 20% mulberry silk and 10% yak. So it's so soft to the skin, and it is very, very drapey and also shiny. And I guess for me, the silky part of it is hard. You heard me saying that the silk part is 20% here. I think I have experienced that when the silk part gets, the fraction of silk gets more than 15% for me, it's hard to knit with, meaning it gives me uneven stitches. And I so much like an even tension and even stitches to make it look nice. But then I saw the tip from Holst and also other of you knitters out there that you don't use steel needles with slippery yarn. Use wooden needles with more grip. What's it called? Resistance of the needles is higher. And I did, and I changed, and I think it helped a little bit, but it didn't totally solve the problem. So if I should use this yarn again, I'm not sure I would, but not for a hat at least, because when you make a hat in wool, you love the elasticity and you could put it on your big head, and then it kind of, yeah, the elasticity helps you with the hat. But this one, it's not that it's not elastic, but it's, I guess, the big baby alpaca part of it will widen up and not be so elastic as a woolen hat. So yeah, for another type of project with where you want a drapey sweater, oversized or so, that would be nice. Yeah. So staying with the tricky part of knitting, and one of my whips, which has unfortunately has been on my needle since September last year. So I guess it's kind of a procrastination project, I would say. I bought this lovely yarn for my niece. It's Sandnes yarn, the Norwegian brand, and this is the base alpaca silk. So it is 70% baby alpaca, 30% mulberry silk. So again, a high silk content. And it's the most soft yarn, very nice and very shiny. And when you knit with it, very drapey. But she wanted a dress with a bit of a negative ease. And I made the swatch as I always do now. And I saw a bit of, oh, there's one of my own hairs. No, it was the alpaca hair. But I saw a bit of unevenness. And then I started the dress, and I had to rip out a small part and do some increases in another way. And it turned up like this. I got scared. I thought, well, can't I rip it out and reuse the yarn? Do I need to start a new ball? Can I even this out during washing or steaming or what? What? I didn't want to make a gift like this. Most often you see the unevenness better on the pearl side. I'm not proud of this. And I know during this period I had the osteoarthritis very much teasing me. My hands hurt very much, so this might be an adding factor to having a hard time giving the tension, because if you can't close your hands, you cannot grip the yarn and so on. Not to bore you with these things, but yeah, it's here. And I have this other work in progress, which is the sweater for my son. It's also in Sandnes, I like this brand, and it's 100% merino. It's Sunday, and so it's fingering. You use size 3mm needles and 2.5 for the ribbing. And I saw the same thing. Okay, I started during the same period maybe, but I tried to take his sweater and what's it called with the iron, the steam iron, and I think it helps. So now I'm flowing with this one. I think now it has to be final. So since the last video, I finalized one sleeve, and the second sleeve is almost final. And now I can gather the body and the sleeves. Is worked bottom up. It's this Uncle Christian sweater from a Danish designer called Hanne Larsen. It's a plain raglan bottom up, but it's, as you can see, on very small needles, so it takes a bit of a time. These are the scary things. So I think in the future I will go for yarn with silk content lower than 15%, preferably 10. When you have this kid silk with the silk compared to the mohair, it's not at all a problem. It's like when it's this silky, very smooth yarn, it gives you problems. But I think I took this off the needles, the dress for my niece, and I think I will start with new balls, and then when I reach the point where I'm out of yarn, maybe I will see if I can rip this out. That's the challenges in life, or at least in your knitting life. The last whip, not teasing me at all, is this crochet project where I have all these flowers made, and now I need a border around it. I've bought another ball in another khaki or beige color, earthy color, to have enough for the blanket I want. So it has been flowing nicely, because if you have a short break, such a flower takes me 25 minutes to make, and 10 you can make 10 out of one ball. So it's an easy to bring project. And now for these, so I've made the borders in the color I like. So I have blue and brown and rusty and green and yellow and different kinds of gray, light gray and darker gray. So I'm not sure. Can I do like this? So now the trick, I can do this. This is one of the advantages of a big breast. There you go. Okay. I have one more. And I have a dark one. So now I just have to figure out how to arrange these to make a pattern or make it totally random. I don't know. I also have this color. So actually this is a quite fun project, and as I said, you can do it in a small break while doing other stuff, and then go to and from. You don't have to think where was I in a row, complicated late row or something. That's nice. That was all my whips for today. I have a strategy, and that's to end some of my procrastination projects before I can start many other cast-ons. I have to force myself now to make them done, or decide to let them die. But I I will try to make this silky business finished business. Yeah. In my quest for summer yarns and testing different plant fiber yarns, I have now come to this yarn. It's a Civic brand and called Fiesta, and it's 40% viscose, 35% cotton, and 25% nylon. And I guess it's a combination of a ribbon yarn and an eyelash yarn. So you can see it looks knitted. It looks knitted, and the eyelash part of it is, I guess, I said the nylon, right? Yeah, the nylon poking out of the yarn like this, making it kind of fluffy. So I guess it is a summer yarn, and it feels soft and it's smooth and slick. And you know, maybe if you saw my last episode, the difficulty with this yarn, I think I have to reball it before using, because it's easily gets entangled. So I showed you also the last time I would like to make a t-shirt or sweater with dropped stitches, and I showed you one. I seen a picture somewhere, and again when I looked into it and looked closer, it was a crochet piece, and that's nice, it's fine, but this time I wanted to make a knitted garment. So again, I started with a swatch and tried to play with these drop stitches. So, and I have this base in both gray and light blue and one more color. What was it? I forgot. I guess it was natural white. But you can probably see here that I start with the stockinette stitch, and I make garter stitches in between the drop stitches. So if you haven't tried drop stitches before, just like me, you for every other stitch you make a yarn over, just as many as you like the drop to be long. So these are 2 yarn overs, then knit one, 2 yarn overs and knit one, and in the next row you drop the yarn over, so it will turn up like this. And here I did only 1 yarn over, so I think I will settle with 1 yarn over. But then I have to figure out what to do in between the drop stitches. I don't know yet. Maybe just making garter stitches will be a bit too boring. What do you think? Sometimes simple is key, right? But also sometimes I just want to explode in every new technique, and it's not necessarily nice. But if you combine all these techniques just because it's funny. But yeah, I hope you know what I mean. But what do you think I should do in between the drop stitches? I've also seen variations of the theme where you vary the drop stitches. So in the middle here you have perhaps 3 yarn overs and then 2 and 1, so that you will get like this. But nah, what could I do in between here? Or should I make it in the other direction to make the stripes like this? Or should I? At some point it reminded me of a wine bush or tree, wine tree, because they grow up in the air, and no, I don't know. We'll see where my crazy head leads me. So maybe, perhaps at the next video I've done something. But anyway, this yarn, oh, it's soft and nice, and when you do these stitches, it's very stretchy and elastic and nice. And it doesn't feel warm. Maybe the fuzziness, or at some point it reminded me of fake fur, but it's not. Yeah. Okay, I think now I'm babbling. but this was one idea. I have some other yarns to show you. I have some new yarns to show you. Or I have some which I didn't manage to show you the last time in the summer yarn video. Yeah, let's see what it is. I have this yarn from Permin, and I found out this is actually a Danish brand which has existed for many years. And it's kind of a ribbon yarn, but compared to the Fiesta yarn I showed you earlier, this ribbon yarn is flat, it's not round. And I haven't knitted with such a yarn before. Have you? Any ideas would be welcomed on what to do with it. Of course, I will search the internet high and low and see what it is, but it's Bunny by Permin, and it's 100% cotton. And if I didn't have the label, I wouldn't have thought this was cotton because it's not stiff at all. But what to do? But when I saw this yarn, I fell in love with the colors, and I thought, this could be a summer sunset, wow, kind of combination. Oh, lovely colors. Yeah, but let's see if you have any ideas or know what to do with this kind of ribbon yarn. I have, I guess, enough for a summer t-shirt. I have more of the colors. Yeah, but new yarns I purchased since the last video is this yarn. I attended, what do you call it? Animal show, animal fair. It's a big fair in Denmark where you display animals, pets, farming equipment, farming machines, drones, whatnot, and also the wool and the fleece from sheep. And this is a local a spinner. She has her own sheep, and she makes in. She has white sheep, and it's merino, and black sheep, and then she blends these fleeces to give natural colors. And I have already caked up this one, and this is one of the more elastic merinos I've seen. It's amazing, and it's soft and nice. So I thought I would support her, and I bought some more of this white, and I will make with kind of striping and so on for babies. And then I saw this Ellen garn, again by Permin. I don't know if I got a bit obsessed by the Permin brand because I hadn't noticed it before in Denmark. And this is half, it's 25% cotton and 45%, no, the other way around, sorry. It's 55% wool and 45% cotton. And it's very soft, and is it light fingering? It's 30 stitches per 4 inches or 10 centimeters. But my lovely green. So I think I will make a summer cardigan of this with a lace. So it's knitted with needle size 2.5 millimeters. That is small, and it will take some time, but anyway, we had such a great day at the fair. We love it. We go all family, and my grandson, he's totally in love in any machine, and he wants to look at it and touch all the buttons and take it apart and collect again, whatever. Yeah, maybe he'll be an engineer once, or it's just boys, I don't know, but he loves it. And then another thing to tell you, I have joined a physical, should we say that, knitting community. So every Thursday, every week, this community meets and knits together for 3 hours, having coffee and a chat. And I had my first time last Thursday, and this was great. There were no men, unfortunately, or that's just the case. There was a lot of women in different ages and with different ideas and projects and skills. So, wow, I look forward to joining again today, Thursday today, and see where it takes me. But the last time there were one teaching us how to do Tunisian crocheting. This is just a small test piece. I've been looking at it before and would like to try it out. This is just a general one, and then we had to try out different techniques and also do it in the round, and it was quite fun. However, you have to be aware that the Tunisian, at least the ones I was taught here, it gives you quite a dense fabric. So you have to consider what to do with Tunisian knitting. Or, sorry if this is my ignorance, of course, I don't know more about it. But I got this recipe for, what's it called? We call it pulsvarmer in Danish. Wrist warmer? I don't know. But anyway, it's a glove without fingers. And I think this is a nice piece, and you can play with the techniques if you want. Also make this technique. So maybe I will try to do these, but it will be a project later in the year when we start entering the winter time. Yeah, I think that was all of the yarn for today. And now for the section of knitting fun facts, today covering knitting speed. The latest record of Guinness Book of Record is held by a Dutch woman called Mirjam Tito's. Back in 2006, she knitted 118 stitches a minute. Wow, that's fast. I don't think I can move my hands that quickly, not even without the needles. And she beat the former record of an English woman called Gwen Matthewman. She held the record for whole 25 years from 1980 to 2005. And she knitted 333 stitches in 3 minutes. And yeah, the families, I guess they've had a bit of a dispute about the format of the record, because teachers knitted for only 1 minute, whereas Gwen knitted for 3 minutes and then averaging the speed per minute, which is, I guess, common for these competitions. But anyway, this is how it is, and I guess both women are very, very fast, or now she is deceased, Gwen Matthewman. But back in the day, she was very famous and intriguing woman, and she made a sweater for Neil Armstrong before the takeoff of Apollo 11, and she got a nice thank you letter from NASA. If you're interested, you can now see the sweater in Ohio State History Center. Yeah, she also attended a David Letterman show, and while being interviewed, she knitted a scarf, and she also showed a sweater that she made in only 6 hours. Oh my God, that was fast. And when asked, she answered, yeah, she guessed that other knitters would probably use 3 days to knit the sweater. Maybe she was a bit too optimistic there, even though it was a plain raglan stockinette sweater, I guess. Yeah, I was quite curious to learn more about how about earthly knitters. What is the average speed? Because for certain we cannot knit that fast, and so I tried to look it up, and we now know that the format of the competition is, of course, very important. But yeah, anyway, take these figures with a grain of salt. But I found out that newbies, they knit around 20 to 30 stitches a minute, and average knitters around 34 to 38 stitches a minute, and very fast knitters around 45 to 48 stitches a minute. So yes, very, very fast. But then, yeah, I guess, of course, we have to remind ourselves that this is not at all about knitting speed. It's about the joy of knitting, the process and the end results, and the mindfulness or tranquility it gives you. So yeah. We have come to the end now. If you're still here, thank you very much for watching. I hope you had some inspiration watching, or at least some fun. I certainly did making the video. If you liked it, please give a thumbs up or subscribe to my channel. We will see you soon in an upcoming video. So, Roger and over from Ingesknittinglab. Color me happy. Bye bye.